As I mentioned earlier in the show, Israel's defense chief is saying that the U.S. and Israel have new intelligence that proves Iran is much closer to a clandestine nuclear bomb than ever before. Never mind that every single U.S. intelligence agency is saying Iran does not have a bomb and they're not building one. Forget the fact that the International Atomic Energy Agency, even with its pro-Israel, pro-U.S. bias, has not been able to document any diversion of nuclear materials for weapons research. By golly, when Israel says we know they've got a bomb, the U.S. will snap too. And they're cranking up the propaganda. They're trying to sell you this idea that Iran is a nuclear threat. Are they desperate enough to set off a nuclear bomb inside the U.S. or at the London Olympics and blame Iran for it? Of course they are. Just like they did 9/11 and blamed Iraq or Afghanistan for it. False flags are often used to start wars. We know there is at least one unaccounted for nuclear weapon floating around inside the United States of America from that incident involving the bomber that flew halfway across the United States of America, left with 6 nuclear weapons on the wing. When it got to its destination, there were only 5. And apparently the people involved in that whole thing all met mysterious and strange deaths in the months thereafter. Israel is screaming that improvised explosive devices are now being smuggled in from Lebanon. They're looking for another excuse to go into Lebanon and grab that Litani River. I think when the Big Bang happens, Israel is going to basically launch in every single direction. Because I think both Israel and the United States understand they're only maybe going to get away with one of these big lies one more time because the world is waking up to it. I don't think they can get away with it. I don't think they can get away with it. I think we have created a climate of skepticism and doubt among the general population where a new claim of nuclear weapons in Iran is not going to be believed because we were lied to about Iraq's nuclear weapons. And a new false flag attack is not going to be accepted at face value because we've been lied to so many times before. I think that's the reality of where we are. Unfortunately, our future course of history is in the hands of whichever world leader is the least mentally stable. And frankly, most of them out there are certifiable as of right now, as I see it. We are seeing more and more articles chastising Mitt Romney for his claim that Israel's superior economic status is a result of cultural superiority, and that obviously the Palestinians deserve to live in poverty because they just don't have the cultural cojones to compete with Israel. Forgetting the fact, of course, that Palestine is occupied by Israel, which does not allow in basic building materials, scientific equipment, educational supplies, medicines, very short on food. It's a long, slow starvation to encourage the Palestinians to go someplace else. And it's absurd, especially when you consider the incredible amounts of money that flow into Israel from the United States of America, Canada, Great Britain, all these other countries that Israel has subverted are paying imperial tithes to Tel Aviv, soon to be Jerusalem. And that's the reason for Israel's apparent wealth, which is concentrated in the upper class. That's why the Israeli students are rioting right now. It's like imperial Rome. Rome was not built on Rome's own accomplishments. Rome was built on an unending flow of wealth looted from the conquered and captured provinces. And we're seeing a repeat of history. I put up a little article the other day about the Canadian government's continuing to kowtow further and further to Tel Aviv. And I found photos of, no, actually it was the European Union. And I found a photo of the flag of the European Union side by side with the flag of Israel. And I went out and I did a quick search, and I found all of these photos from all around the world of the flag of the nation flying right next to the flag of Israel. I found a photo of the Capitol building in Connecticut flying the Israeli flag over the Capitol building. So if you want to know who's behind all of this push for a global government, it's right there in front of you. When you're flying the flag of a foreign government next to the flag of your own nation, you are an occupied country. Which gets back to that comment that was made on the YouTube video, that opposition to communist subversion of the U.S. government is patriotism, but opposition to Israeli subversion of the U.S. government, that's anti-Semitism. Now, there are some new developments regarding the Fast and Furious gun-running, drug-running program, and it begins with this drug plane that was shot down. Let's see, a DC-9 airliner, two American registered planes, a DC-9 airliner and a Gulfstream business jet carrying 10 tons of cocaine. And apparently 4 Mexican generals were arrested in connection with this drug flight. And I mention this as a preface to an article that a captured Mexican drug cartel member has gone public saying Fast and Furious is not what you think it is. Zimbara Niebla claims that under a divide and conquer strategy, the U.S. is financing and arming the Sinaloa drug cartel through Operation Fast and Furious in exchange for information that allows the DEA, immigration, other federal agencies to take down all the rival drug cartels. The Sinaloa cartel was permitted to traffic massive amounts of drugs across the U.S. border from 2004 to 2009 as long as the intelligence kept coming. This is a repeat of Iran-Contra. The U.S. is helping the Sinaloa cartel form a drug monopoly in exchange for which the Sinaloa cartel sends the drugs through across the border to favored political cronies who are involved in the drug trade. It is an exact repeat of Iran-Contra. That's why they keep talking about, we sent all these thousands of guns south of the border and we were able to track 10 of them to bad people that we arrested. Has got nothing to do with it. Go out on a web search, The Crimes of Mina. History is repeating itself, which is, of course, what is wrong with history. Guns down, drugs back, everybody on the inside making tons and tons of money. So, of course, Bill O'Reilly steps up and says, we must continue the U.S. policy of drug interdiction and support for our allies overseas, yada, 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 yada. Alrighty. Now, earlier in the week, there was what we were told was a positive jobs report that kicked up the stock market a little tiny bit. And they were saying all these jobs were created and only these small jobs were lost and, huzzah, huzzah, things are looking good, which is kind of weird because only 2 days before we had been seeing these cautionary pieces in the corporate media saying probably not a good idea to pay attention to the July jobs report, because of all that seasonal adjustment, and there's all these other things going on where really if it's a horribly bad jobs report, it won't really matter. And then, of course, 2 days later it comes out and says, actually, it's a good jobs report. And my comment at the time was, I think this job report is about as credible as the LIBOR rates, and it turns out to be absolutely correct, because the Bureau of Labor Statistics seems to have played around very heavily with seasonal adjustments. And the reality is the United States economy lost 1.2 million jobs in July. That is the actual hard reality, facts on the ground. But the U.S. government, through all of these statistical calculations and corrections, they massaged the data to get something that is politically acceptable in a campaign year. They're lying to you again. I know, big shock, you're surprised, but they are lying to you once again. We live in an age of lies. We in the United States are the most lied to people on the face of the earth, and we must stand up and fight for truth. All right, we're going to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back after these words from our sponsors. We're already seeing all over the corporate media, food prices are skyrocketing already and expected to go much, much worse. They're blaming global warming and space aliens and all the rest of it. But we're seeing a basic confluence of overlapping issues. First and foremost, lowered yields from genetically modified crops that are being forced on everybody. The collapse of America's Western irrigation system through long, long neglect. And the farmers out there have been screaming for ages that if this system was not fixed, it would trigger food shortages. Obama is keeping the ethanol quotas, which means there are large areas of working farmland that are growing crops for ethanol production, and which means they can't grow food. And they're keeping these boneheaded policies in place because in order to back down is to admit error, and nobody wants to do that in an election year. And despite all these warnings about food shortages, we are seeing more and more communities across the United States of America passing these ordinances that you can't grow food on your own property. You're not zoned for it. It may not be healthy, We have to make sure that you will go to that supermarket and buy your healthy, chemical-laden food from the friendly American corporations. You will be dependent on massa for your next meal, you slave you. And the gentleman up in Oregon who was collecting rainwater on his own property, the rain that fell from the sky, that's the property of the state, and you are not allowed to collect that because that belongs to us. And they put him in jail for 30 days. And my German accent notwithstanding, I'm pretty certain that even Adolf Hitler did not claim to own the rain that fell on people's homes in Nazi Germany. It's just absurd, the degree of dictatorship we are living under right now. Alrighty, let's see. Over in Great Britain, their hopes for an economic recovery were apparently based on the expectation that Britain would be exporting more products to the rest of the world, and apparently that is not working out. The balance of trade continues to be negative. People around the world aren't buying British products the way that they used to, and that may have a lot to do with the same reason people around the world aren't buying American products. It's the same reason people weren't buying products from Nazi Germany and Japan in the run-up to World War II. Everybody knows who the bad guy is, and nobody wants to have something from the bad guy. Speaking of bad guy, a listener actually found and sent in to me one of these ridiculous Barack Obama American flags, which you can see if you're watching this on Justin TV. I don't know what I'm going to do with this after using it here on the show. But this flag is such an insult. It's an insult to the 50 states whose stars were removed from the flag to make way for Obama's face. It's an insult to American veterans. It's certainly an insult to Republicans. You know, the leader's face everywhere you look, the sign of a dictatorship. We're going to take a break for station identification. We'll be back with Don Wiskin after these words from our sponsor. A regular visit is Don Wiskin of Extendovite, and we have him on our show from time to time because, well, the reality is the alternative media, we're now becoming the mainstream, and we do have to pay the bills like everybody else, and we don't have Israel coming in and bribing us to report the news the way they want it to be done. So Republic Broadcasting and WhatReallyHappened.com, we have to make our money the old-fashioned way. We have to actually earn it. And so we are very, very grateful for advertisers like Extendovite, especially when it's a product that we can actually feel good about sharing with our listeners and readers. And Don, thank you for coming back on the show. And today I'd kind of like to talk to you, and I know you don't want to stray off the fact that this is basically to keep your heart and arteries healthy and everything. But earlier this week, we had fellow RBN host Mary Tocco on our show talking about the abuses of vaccines, and we've got another story that we're going to be covering later on about the adjuvants creating illnesses for which the medical establishment will sell us another cure for. But I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you know, looking at the ingredients on your bottle, and it's all very good stuff, and it's all stuff we've evolved to be with, but getting beyond the obvious benefits to your heart and your circulatory system, I'm very curious personally, and I'm sure some of our listeners are, about how Extendovite is going to help your body deal with allergens, especially from some of these vaccine adjuvants. I know you said earlier on the show that there is a natural chelation effect of some of these components.
Absolutely, Michael, that's just the way it is. In the vaccination, the problem there mostly is the thimerosal, which is a form of mercury, and the mercury never leaves our body. We have to encourage it to leave, and that's where the chelating effects of the garlic come in, because it is, you know, it's got over 70 different sulfur compounds, but about 30 of them will help to slowly chelate the heavy metals away from your liver, which allows your liver to get back working properly and clean your blood and help to feed your body. So that's one of the benefits right there. The other is the garlic in Extendovite helps to boost your natural immune system so you don't catch a cold. And if you do catch a cold, you only get it for maybe a day while everybody else is sick for a week to 10 days, and it doesn't even stop you from working. I had the Norwalk virus once, and if you know about that one, you're losing body fluids from both ends. You're dehydrated. Your head hurts. You can't get off the couch except to go to the bathroom. You have to drink, and every time you drink, you have to get rid of some fluid from either the
Well,
top
yeah,
or the
yeah,
bottom or
yeah,
both
yeah.
at the same time.
We get the
I only
image.
had it for a day when everybody else was sick for over a week.
Well, I think a lot of people, and certainly my wife is very much in this category.
All right. Well, as many of you know, we have the Colorado movie theater massacre, and a little bit worried about that, to say the least, considering we have the weapons treaty put together by the UN that Obama said he would look at and most likely sign within the next 2 to 3 weeks. All over the radio, it's getting concerning. Not only that, but TV. We have not just politicians anymore, but people who are on the radio, obviously bought off by big banks, politicians, UN, you name it, for this gun ban. I'm not too excited about all this. The talk is that we need to have stricter gun laws. However, I live in the state of New Hampshire where the gun laws are pretty fair. They're not too strict. We're pretty free up here as far as that goes. And Vermont as well. Texas, I mean, who can top them? But our crime rates aren't that bad compared to New York City, where all the people who want guns can't get them, and the people who have the guns shouldn't have them. And guess what? Crime rates through the roof. Well, we have crime rates now going up and up and up in these states that decide to have very strict gun laws, and now we want to take the gun laws and make them worse just because the shooting. Now, I understand, I'm not trying to be cold and callous, people did die, unfortunately. This is very tragic. I feel sorry for those who lost their lives. It was senseless. It's just totally senseless act of violence, and I do not condone that in any way, shape, or form. But what I guess I'm trying to say is that if more people carry guns with them, or not too far from them, or the gun laws were, I would venture to say, in some states, freer than they are, the crime rate probably wouldn't be that bad. And I'm not going to totally say that someone would have carried a gun into a movie theater, because who expects someone's going to go nuts in a movie theater? But if they did, and several people were carrying guns that night, maybe, just maybe, they would have had a fighting chance on getting out of there alive and taking out and or neutralizing the suspect in that crime. Unfortunately, people did not. As far as I know, people didn't react. There's conflicting stories of gas canisters coming from either side of the room, which now opens it up to a conspiracy. And live on Fox, the FBI agent they were interviewing said there's a possibility there was. I mean, think about it. The guy's apartment was rigged with explosives. Somehow they knew to go in through the window because the door was rigged. Okay, so someone might say, well, they investigated, they heard this, that, or the other thing. Fine, I'll give you that. But how did they know to take the bombs out in a specific order, how to defuse them and blow them up without having them all go off? I mean, if this guy made this up and it come from his brain, and he's a studies neuroscience. He's not a bomb maker, he's not an electrician, he's not a master electrician, he doesn't specialize in explosives. He basically has a doctorate in neuroscience, and that is has many different levels to it, and one of which is studied and used by the CIA in their MK Ultra program, which is a mind control program, partially for the Manchurian Candidate. This guy was found at his car after the shooting, virtually unscathed, unbothered, in a relaxed state, which kind of seems like someone that may be under mind control, or in an altered state of some sort. Drug, maybe, who knows. A little bit bizarre that in 3 months he accumulated about 6,000 rounds of ammunition, which is fairly expensive. 2 Glocks, which even used are probably going to run you $600 a piece in fair condition. An AR-15, a shotgun, and these are not cheap toys. These are weapons that should be respected and were purchased by this gentleman in less than 3 months, on top of the riot gear and explosives. And now we're talking thousands of dollars in gear and supposed preparation for this supposed premeditated thing, this Batman premiere. Now the problem with that is, evidently this guy wasn't working, didn't have much money, had an apartment, was going to school, and somehow afforded all this. God knows where he got half of it, in particular the riot gear and all that. So there's a lot of unanswered questions that the mainstream media, dinosaur media, and the government's not delving into right now, and it begs to question as to why they might be doing that. Is there something behind it? Are there reasons why they're not discussing these things? Because the way I'm looking at it, I'm going to say yes. But that's probably a good possibility. It's a little bit concerning. It's kind of weird that Alex Jones had brought up a few things in regards to this, and they better not go and try to blame this on him. And this whole extremism, homegrown terrorism thing is a crock of crap. I mean, these people are trying to make up things just so that we'll be afraid. They can take our rights away, control us totally, lead us into martial law, and just virtually watch us act like sheep. And so, I mean, if some people want to go down that path, I mean, I'm trying to wake people up to it. Don't do it. But some of these people, I'm seeing it. It's just like every day now. People look like they're brain dead, walking out there on the street, acting like complete zombies. And I'm actually concerned as to some of the actions of some of these people. Excuse me while I take a sip of my coffee. But aside from that, I mean, it's just, you never know now who's a nut and who's not. I mean, if they're going to look into these gun laws, why not go into maybe more extensive background checks, making sure the person doesn't have a huge criminal record or history of bizarre behavior, in particular psychiatric problems. I mean, other than that, I mean, this is a free country. We have a right to form a militia. We have a right to bear arms. And we shouldn't be told how many arms we can bear, how many we can put aside, how many we can collect, how much ammunition we can supposedly, what they call, stockpile. Although if you're a target shooter and you're a hunter, you go through ammunition like it's crazy, especially when you're trying to set your sights properly. So I mean, they're just really reaching when they're saying, oh, I don't know why people have to have thousands of rounds of ammunition, because I go through hundreds and hundreds of rounds a month. So I mean, it's not, you get 1,000, 2,000 rounds of ammunition, that goes fast when you're sighting in a gun and keeping them sighted in, and just keeping sharp up on your skills. But we're getting to the day and age in which we need to learn how to survive. And I mean, this kind of reminds me of when they did the White House shooting there. I kind of put mathematics together, you know, Kennedy assassination being on 22nd, around the same part of the term where Kennedy was assassinated in like his 3rd year, I think it was, yeah. And then you get November 11th, 11/11 is 22, so Obama's in his 3rd term. He's a Democrat, some say Kennedy-esque. And it's just put 2 and 2 together. They like these math problems, these NWO, New World Order people. It's like a riddle, a game to them. And so something's going to happen. I mean, you know, I thought something was going to happen. I just had this weird feeling. I don't know. And then when it happened, I was kind of taken back and shocked at it at first, but I guess not so much, because I mean, after a while, you pay attention to their patterns; they get fairly predictable, and these are the things that happen. And so, in a certain sense, it's like that. They couldn't put their story together when they were talking about that gentleman either. They said that he had a job and that he had a car and he had a sniper rifle, yada yada yada. I mean, the story goes on and on. I don't have time for it now. I'll get into it at some other point about the White House shooter. But none of the story added up. Like an AK, what he was found with supposedly. AK is not designed to be an accurate gun. It spins as it's coming out of the barrel, doing one of these maneuvers. That's why it's angled and cut at an angle at the end of an AK. And he fired it at the White House from almost a mile away, and somehow hit a window the size of a 2-liter bottle. While he was in a moving car. Where he got the car, I have no idea. Where he got the gun, I have no idea. And he never fired a gun in his life. I'd say that's a pretty good shot with an inaccurate gun from a mile away in a moving car. With one arm. Just saying. But, like I said, I'll go into that some other time. There's a lot of weird similarities to that issue. Again, it had to do with a gun, so gun control is the topic. And, but with this other things, how did he get in the back of this movie theater? Some say he propped the door. I mean, no one noticed him propping the back door open. No one went by in hours this took place and checked the back door to see if, it was open or crooked open, or no one seen him walking with these canisters. How did he get all this gear in there? I mean, a lot of questions have to be answered here before I'm happy with the story, and right now it's looking like it wasn't just him, or if it was, maybe he had some help to some extent, or, I mean, some of it's actually pointing toward this UN treaty and trying to prove a point and get gun laws passed, which we don't need. They want us to be completely defenseless, and they don't like people who can fend for themselves and survive on their own. They want to keep us helpless and afraid of everything and tell us there's terrorists everywhere. Now they're telling us we're all terrorists and we should spy on each other. That sounds like Nazi Germany. I mean, what are we coming to, people? But again, this Batman situation, as sad as it is, there's a lot of questions to be asked. I hope people keep asking them. I'll probably do another video on this. I'm interested into hearing people's feedbacks. If you get any facts and or suggestions and questions, please feel free to message me or do a video response. It's an interesting topic. I'm sure I'll make another video about this because I just don't have enough time to fit it all in one video segment. But please stay tuned. I have more videos coming, not just about the that topic, but many others, in particularly bizarre happenings with animals dropping dead, weather, climate changes, space things that are going on. Very interesting time in our lives. A lot of people aren't aware of it yet, and there's a lot of things happening and have started to happen in a very short period of time that we haven't seen before, and or hasn't happened in a long time. Keep your eyes open, folks. Things aren't always what they seem to be, and you don't want to close your eyes too long because you might miss something fairly interesting. But that's it for this video for now. Again, I will make more, in particularly on this topic, to discuss different things that I don't have time for now. And I have several other video topics coming up in regards to other things, so please stay tuned. They're coming soon. Until then, thank you. Hey, this is my video response to the InfoWars, in particular the Mike Adams segment, for, I believe it was Sunday night. And my response to that, real quick, is he spoke about vaccines, and I just wanted to let people know, in particular, maybe see if I could get Alex's take, if I could get his attention. I know he's a very busy guy. I live up here in New Hampshire, and I just want to let people know and be aware that they may already be doing this in other states. It's like the doctors are pre-programmed with some type of scripted story. Um, they told my sister who's pregnant, she's several months pregnant now, that when she went in there right off the bat, it was like sick eugenics. These people get off on like basically telling her that, oh yeah, we got to tell you, your fetus might not, the baby might not last, and there's a 42% miscarriage rate, and we just want to tell you that right off the bat. And they're like looking in her eyes and like literally smirking about it, like some demented demon. So it's pretty disturbing that they get off on that to begin with. But moving along, in the next breath, they were telling her, "Oh well, we really need you to have the vaccines. It's not only good for you, but it's good for the child." And she's very well aware, as am I, and her boyfriend, that this just isn't so. We know about the mercury, the squalene, all that garbage that they put in these things, the autism rates, and just so many other things with them. But anyhow, getting back on track here. In that next breath, she then told my sister, this doctor did. She says, well, the survival of the fetus or the child in the womb is much better with the vaccines. Plus, the vaccines are better for you. And we knew right off the bat that that just isn't so again. And also, if you look it up, and I did a little bit of research, I don't have time to give you all the stuff because I don't have it in front of me right now. Um, Turns out that what they don't tell you, either they're really ignorant or they, like I said, this is a script. It's the survival rate actually goes down in those first couple of trimesters after being administered the vaccines. And I forgot the ratios and all that, but it turns out that people who did not take the vaccines had a way better chance. It was like double or something of the, especially in the first pregnancy, of the child surviving without the vaccines than they did with it. And I recommend that people don't do this. And there are states right now, I've heard it all over the radio, that are, like in Vermont, they're looking into the vaccines. They want this stuff studied. We're tired of being poisoned. We're tired of people, this NWO eugenic crap, and we know what you're feeding us. It's all bull crap, and we're going to put an end to it. Alex is the lead warrior out there, and just want him to know that we're out here fighting as well, and we're not turning a blind eye to this junk. And we need all the help we can get, and all the airtime on this that we can get. And if you could maybe just touch on this, Alex, I'd greatly appreciate it, especially if you could maybe post the numbers for people so that not only I could see what you come up with for your numbers, see if they're similar to ones that I've seen myself, but so other people can see, so that when they walk in, they can be educated when they're about to have a child and not be told some eugenic garbage that's going to actually put them or the child in danger. All right, thanks.
So here I am on the road. Promise more videos, kind of lagging, maybe procrastinating a little bit. But aside from the point, I've been keeping a good eye on a lot of crazy things going on here and abroad. Buffalo dying, fish washing up on shores, birds dropping out of the sky yet again, sharks, great whites, warm water sharks showing up in the northern Atlantic region. Up where I live, it's kind of unusual to see this, almost a 20-foot fish swimming 5 feet off the shore. Pretty interesting. So, anyways, one of the things that I wanted to bring to light, actually, over many other things, is that aside from all the crazy things going on that I will touch on, probably not in this video, but next couple of videos, the one thing I wanted to talk about now would be about 2 nights ago at Walmart, which is down the street from where I am now. I noticed, I thought there was something big going on because there was like 3 or 4 cop cars, cruisers or whatever. And they were just out in the parking lot and they were bugging this kid. And I said, gee, I know this kid. I've seen him before. They call him the guy in the red hat, the kid in the red hat. So I says to the cot kid guy, I say, you know, what's going on here? You know, the kid's a little bit crazy, but what did he do? I mean, couldn't have been that bad. Evidently, someone called the cops on him. This is how disturbing this is getting. It's turning into Nazi Germany when you're literally reporting your neighbor for everything. He was overheard in Walmart talking about chemtrails. If you do not know about chemtrails, please look them up on Google or YouTube. You will find what you see very fascinating. Contrail is basically an exhaust stream behind an airplane, primarily a jet, that is normal and disappears. Chemtrail, that is the long-lived smoke patterns behind the plane that don't go away for quite some time. A lot of times you see these chemtrails in grid patterns, and the government actually finally admitted, the Pentagon did, that they added all these aluminum dioxides and some type of heavy metal. Anyways, it's not good for your central nervous system. And for some reason, they're dumping these in patterns in the sky. I've noticed it. If anybody looks up, they'll notice it almost on a daily basis. And if you look at the difference between a contrail and a chemtrail, there's a clear difference. Now, this kid simply just brought this up to someone. Someone overheard it, and then ended up someone asked another question about it, and he went into it. He was passionate about it. Keep in mind, the kid is mentally unstable. He does have something similar to Tourette syndrome, and I believe he's autistic, which is kind of bizarre because according to people who knew him from school, he didn't develop this problem until later on in life. Regardless of what he is, basically I overheard the police yelling at him, which I thought was bizarre. I mean, how do you yell at mentally handicapped people because they are exercising their right to freedom of speech? And then you show up with 4 cops to take care of a kid that's 145 pounds soaking wet. So anyways, long story short, he ends up getting arrested by the Epping police. Surprise, surprise. This New Hampshire town that I live in. These people, these cops up here, I have a lot of respect for police officers. I love the town next to us. They're police officers, every one of them are great over there in Brentwood. There's quite a few good ones in Raymond too. But we have a couple decent ones in town, like the new chief, Wallace. He's an alright guy. McFadden, yada yada yada. Anyhow, these people showed up, 4 cops deep, to arrest a 140-pound mentally disabled kid for exercising his freedom of speech because someone called from Walmart because they were scared. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a problem in this country or even in the world when we call 911 because we're scared of hearing the truth? And for those people who say it isn't the truth, chemtrails don't exist, walk outside any given day, a couple times a day. You might not see it right off the bat, but you'll see the difference between a contrail and a chemtrail. Please look it up. These things exist. And to top it off, to boot, the Pentagon says it exists. The kid was simply exercising his freedom of speech right, based on our constitutional rights, which evidently got the police called on him in the first place because someone was scared of hearing the truth, which is also another big problem we have in this country. And then the fact that they showed up and they were yelling at him because he was mentally disabled and all, for exercising his rights. Not only that, they were telling him he shouldn't talk ill of the government. These are police officers. Where are these people from? Have they seen what the government's got us into? They spend our money, give it to banks, the banks screw us over, and then they turn around and they ask us for more money to bail the banks out while we sink. And what do we got? Mounting debt. They try to blame Obama. It's not entirely his fault. He doesn't make things much better, unfortunately, but he's not making it too much worse. It was already heading down that path to begin with. This is ridiculous. It needs to come to an end. And it's not saying much for local police when they're turning into Nazis. I mean, this is ridiculous. And I'm not trying to speak illy of all police, because I have friends that are police officers. I was a firefighter. Here's the deal. People need to wake up and become informed, because if we don't, we're in trouble. And other topics I want to talk about, cognitive dissonance goes hand in hand with what I'm talking about, and you can look that up if you'd like before my next videos. This is just outrageous. I mean, if people don't see martial law coming, I don't know what to tell you. When people can just call the police because they're scared of someone stating facts, police show up and actually arrest a person that's mentally ill because they exercised their amendment right and stated facts. And the biggest reason was, I guess, when I heard them yelling at him, like I said, they said you shouldn't talk that way to the government. You have no proof. You shouldn't make up lies. It's not good. You shouldn't scare people. Since when was telling the truth scaring anybody? And sometimes, I mean, maybe, just maybe, the truth should hurt a little bit. Maybe that's the only way to wake people up. And what is it saying for our society when a mentally ill person has more common sense and knowledge and is more awake and aware of their surroundings than a person with what we call a supposed functional brain? Normal people. What's the definition of normal? It varies from person to person because there really is no set definition. Wake up, people. This is getting bad and it's getting disgusting. I do wish I had my video camera on me, so I could have taken the video or pictures at least and downloaded them to my computer. I will make sure I carry these things on me more often and they're all charged up, because I was PO'd that I didn't have my camera the other night. I wanted video of this. I knew they'd probably, yell at me for it or try and make me get rid of it or something, but I've had run-ins with them before because they've, busted my hump over things that never existed. But that's small town politics and BS. But again, wake up, people. This is Nazism. This is martial law. This is a disgrace that we're trampling all over the Constitution. Totally disrespectful. It's time to wake up and take our country back. You want freedom or do you want tyranny? It's your pick. We're running out of time. So don't waste time. Please wake up, stay informed, and stay tuned for my next videos.
Alright, well, today I believe is August 5th. I have you in front of a large screen TV. I apologize for the shakiness of it. These gentlemen you see talking just beyond my shoulder here are from a temple, a site temple in Wisconsin, Wood Creek I believe it's called. There was a shooting there, and I have been watching this since it broke literally within the last half hour today. And the time is now probably 3, probably happened around 2:15-ish. Seem to have a problem here with these shootings like in Colorado. The problem being is that we got conflicting reports now. They're saying that the police officer showed up on the scene just after the shooting had started when they were calling, was shot multiple times. Now he's not just going to stand there and get shot, so that means either someone had an automatic weapon or there were multiple shooters. As you'll hear probably on the TV behind me, that as I heard on the news when they were interviewing someone, they tried to shut him down immediately. He said, he was one of the people on the inside, he said, fielding phone calls, and everybody else in other parts of this building are saying there's multiple shooters, and it looks tactical. Multiple shooters, and now the news cutting them off, and then the reports coming in saying, oh, well, there was just one shooter, and then the cop was shot, the cop's alive, the shooter's supposedly dead. Okay, well, now you've got one shooter, and he's dead. That spares a trial. I can understand that happened with Lee Harvey Oswald and the whole Kennedy assassination. Problem with this is there's multiple 911 calls coming in. It's on record. It's on CNN. They tried to shut it down. You can tell this is very scripted, what they're talking about. This is still very fluid. This situation is still ongoing. Supposedly it's very fresh. The cops are still there. Multiple reports are saying that there were multiple shooters, and we need to understand, people, these things happening out of the blue. They've thrown around already the word terrorism, calling Americans terrorists, saying that we're doing this because of things that took place on 9/11. If I can find out what they're saying here in a second, I'll be quiet and let you hear the ongoing situation, because I do want to show that there are people saying there were multiple shooters. There were family and children in the building, and very unfortunate circumstances, but again, very fishy, like the Colorado shooting. Again, I'm stressing the people there are stressing that there were multiple shooters. It was a tactical operation, and unfortunately, the news is saying that no, there's one gunman, he's dead, the cop shot him. After the cop was shot multiple times, he survived. Very bizarre set of circumstances. You can tell there's clearly something up and wrong.
And the heart's still sinking down. It's still everybody's kind of shook up, The kids, the kids are usually when the ladies have the kids are just
so.
They don't know what's going on. And of those 7, you said you only know this one person killed. Do you know of any ages of the other people who?
I don't know how well you people can hear the
same information you got, same information we have. Right now we don't know other names.
Speakers on this TV, and it's probably one of my least organized videos I've done. I wish I had my other camera on me so I could have just uploaded it to my computer and put it online. Again, it's a shooting at the Safe Temple in Wisconsin. There are 7 dead, and that's including the gunman.
We're being told right now that President Obama has been notified of the situation.
Obviously, you're just hearing that the president was just notified.
At some point, but the situation remains this.
Almost 10 past 3 in the afternoon.
On the police department are inside this
Eastern time.
17,000-foot temple south of Milwaukee by about 9 miles.
Again, I wanted to catch this fresh and early to show you people. This is why I keep my eyes open. I keep my eyes open because if you don't, people try to slip things past you. And I'm hoping that they talk again about the potential for multiple shooters, because that's what was reported by people in and around the scene. The news is trying to hush that up, and so is the local police and the government officials. And then they're saying they'll err in the way of caution, so they don't want people to talk too much about the situation.
The police department received multiple calls.
Here we go.
That there was a shooting inside of this temple. It was to the
multiple calls
in Oak Creek there, and they said just about 20 minutes, just a few minutes later, a 20-year veteran of the police department was on scene at this temple. They said that that veteran officer exchanged gunfire with the shooter, and they said that gunman was taken down.
Again, they're stressing the one gunman theory.
The gunman also did shoot the officer multiple times. That officer now is in critical condition at a hospital.
No, that don't make sense,
we don't know
folks.
which of the victims
officer shoots shooter.
According to the
shooter
hospital,
shoots officer multiple times.
Hospital.
What did he just stand there?
To the face, to the abdomen, and also some to the extremities of their bodies. And we don't know which of the 3 that he was talking about, because some of them had gunshot wounds to the abdomen, some had it to the head, some had to the extremities, and at least one had those wounds in both places, the extremities and also to the head as well. So, but what we do know at this point is they're making these tactical sweeps, as Rob Marciano said.
And they're still making tactical
dead,
sweeps.
One of them believed to be the shooter at this temple. We're going to continue to follow this. And
very interesting.
Rob Marciano is here at Ferric.
I just hope people don't close their eyes on this. I mean, they're trying to push this whole gun situation. Again, they're trying to push this whole gun situation where they want to restrict our ammo and gun laws. Again, that's not helping anybody. All the wrong people are getting the guns, and the right people that should be owning the guns, they're just being restricted and having their rights taken away, and it's a bunch of BS. But again, that's August 5th. About 2:15, there was a shooting. As I was trying to show you, they didn't even talk about it, unfortunately. The shooting, multiple people, there were multiple 911 calls to this place at this temple. There were multiple 911 calls that reported multiple gunmen, that it looked like some type of tactical situation of some sort. People were being shot. Very confusing situation for them. People didn't understand what was going on. Obviously, this took people by surprise, very similar to the Colorado shooting at the movie theater where everybody was taken off guard, and obviously many people were hurt there as well. Now we got a handful of people already dead in this situation, a lot in critical, and we got an officer in critical condition. Shot allegedly multiple times by the subject that's in question, and now the subject's dead. Just different elements of the story aren't adding up, and it's one of those things where it just the news kept trying to shut down this whole theory of potential for multiple gunmen. But why are they still there? Not saying much. Why are they still in there doing these supposed sweeps? If there was just one person, is there something that they're clearly trying to cover up so that when they do go in for an official investigation, that it only shows that there was one person in there? Maybe there is evidence lying around there was multiple people, maybe multiple caliber guns, maybe people are picking up shells for all we know. But I'm telling you right now, right off the bat, I noticed something was very fishy about this. Please stay tuned to it. I'm sure Alex Jones will cover it. I'm sure multiple news agencies will cover it, maybe even coast to coast. But please be aware of the situation. It's very unfortunate, but again, I think it's one of those things where people are trying to deceive us in order to take our rights. And unfortunately, there are people who are dying over this, and they're portraying us Americans as terrorists, and when they're probably pulling off these stupid false flag operations, which now many believe the Colorado shooting may have been, and now this not Milwaukee, but Wisconsin shooting. Again, they're back on. I may show a little bit more, but I'll touch back again on it. Just a very unorganized video. I'm going to throw it on YouTube. I wanted to get my point of view out there and make you people understand that I did see this as it was happening on the news. I do know what people were saying and reporting. They were telling them to literally be quiet, that the situation was fresh, not to talk about that type of thing. Then they ended up talking about it themselves, that, oh, there was reports of multiple gunmen, but, you know, that's probably not the case, because now the reports from the supposed officials are saying that it was just one, and the cop that showed up was shot multiple times, and that cop ended up shooting and killing the alleged one suspect. Again, I don't believe at the rate this happened, because it happened in multiple rooms in a fairly large building, as you can see, that this was one person. This is ridiculous. Again, maybe we can hear what's going on a little bit. But
the scene are directly involved in this investigation. We cannot speculate about anything, about terrorism, about whatever problem this gunman may have had with the Sikh community. if at all, it could just be a deranged person. We don't know until
Oh,
this
another
plays
deranged
out.
person.
Also,
Sound familiar?
initially, it didn't look very much. If you see here, you're not seeing very much of an active scene. That's because initially police were asking people on the scene who were inside of this temple to be careful about information that they were releasing to their loved ones, to people on the outside, because
police
it
are
was
saying
an
be
active
careful.
hostage negotiation at that point that they believed. They were
Now
asking
there's a
the media
hostage
to be careful about showing
situation
overhead
going on,
live
supposedly.
video or taking live feeds of this particular scene because they didn't know.
They wanted the media. You just said to be careful about the live feeds.
On television, and also they were trying to get people out.
No, maybe it's because they're trying to cover evidence.
We saw women and children being escorted out in an armored vehicle. And again, this officer who confronted the gunman right after the 911 call, a 20-year veteran of the police department, outside of this temple. Okay, thank you. Getting information from my producer there. It said that the gunman exchanged fire with the officer, and the gunman was taken down. They believe the gunman is dead. They said they believe in a press conference. And then they said that the officer was taken to the hospital with multiple gunshot wounds. We know from that hospital that 3 people are there in critical condition. All 3 of the people are in critical condition, and they describe the injuries as head wounds, multiple gunshot wounds to the face and to the head, also to the extremities of the body, and gunshot wounds to the abdomen. 3 adults taken to the hospital. And the information I was just getting from my producer is from the Indian Embassy. And here's what the Indian Embassy is telling CNN. Our Sean Nottingham here, who is on our wires desk. We have seen reports on the tragic incident earlier today of firing at a group of worshipers at a Gurdwara in the Milwaukee suburb of Oak Creek, Wisconsin. The embassy is seized of the situation and has been in touch with the National Security Council in Washington, D.C. Our consulate general in Chicago, too, has been in close touch with the local authorities to monitor the situation. An official has been deputed to visit, or deputied or whatever, to visit the site to ascertain the situation on the spot. And as we know, we're being told as well, the President of the United States has been notified of the situation in Wisconsin as well.
Don, it's such a large congregation. They built this in the 90s.
Large congregation.
As it grew, people of this...
Again, they're sidestepping a lot of things. I wish I had caught it sooner, people. But where I'm running out of time for this short video here, I do got to tell you, obviously, to keep in touch with these people. They want their own investigations done because this does smell fishy. Let's keep our eyes open. I'll give another video on this later when I can digest a little bit more of it and sort it out a little. And hopefully by then you people have too. And I'll weigh in on it again later. So I thank you for viewing this very unorganized, quick video while everything is happening. And I will have more on this later as I find the time. Again, thank you, and dissect this, people, and keep your eye out. Check it out. We don't want to lose our rights.